2020 marks not only the 35th anniversary of the Super Mario Bros. Series, but also the 30th anniversary of Fire Emblem, which honestly may surprise some of you, as the first Fire Emblem game for the West actually came out in 2003 in North America and 2004 in Europe on the Game Boy Advance, and was known as just Fire Emblem. But Japan has been fighting wars with Marth, Sita, and Tiki since the days of the Famicom. And after 30 years, Nintendo has finally put in the work to translate that original adventure for Western audiences. And they made it available on Switch. And they actually went the extra mile and they whipped up this fancy collector's edition to celebrate the occasion. I'm Zion from Nintendo Life, and today we're going to be unboxing the Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light Anniversary Edition for the Nintendo Switch. And while I do feel Nintendo missed the mark on this in some certain areas, there was definitely a lot of love and care put into this special edition. And I really hope Nintendo puts forth this sort of effort if they decide to release more classic games in the future. Right off the bat, this box is beefy. It's way heavier and much bigger than I was expecting. The box has a nice matte finish to it and actually sort of spells out Fire Emblem along the sides of the box. At first I thought it was Japanese text, but nope, it's straight up English. You know when you sort of have to squint your brain to really understand something? That was me. The front of the box also features a giant pixelated golden dragon, which I'm assuming is the Shadow Dragon itself, but I have yet to play the game, so I don't actually know. Then if we go ahead and take a peek at the inside, oh my gosh, this art book is huge! No wonder why the box is so big. This book is full of art and details from the original Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, but also the DS remake, and also highlights other appearances of the game's characters in other games like Fire Emblem Heroes, Codename Steam, and at the end, we get a great look at some of the amazing art of the Japanese-only Fire Emblem trading card game, Cypher. Really wish Nintendo would localize that game for the West. There's also a pretty sweet poster included in here that gives us an idea of what a classic issue of Nintendo Power featuring Fire Emblem could have looked like way back when. We have Marth here as he was shown on the original Famicom cover of the game, and the backside also features a page from the Counselor's Corner of Nintendo Power, which is where you could find tips about particular games each month. For those of you that remember Nestor, he even makes an appearance on the top of the page as well. Then the most important piece of this package is the replica NES game pack. The presentation is off the charts. I had goosebumps just looking at this sitting in its shell, but it does help that the packaging actually looks like it's made of stone, or I guess cement. It just looks regal, and the packaging of the actual game box looks almost identical to what you would have seen on the shelf back in the 80s and 90s. The official Nintendo seal of quality is proudly displayed on the front of the box, unlike on modern Switch games these days. They even got down to the tiny details, like featuring the Rev A text in the bottom right corner, and the spines thankfully read the correct way to match with other NES games. It's beautiful. The sizing on it is just a tad bit different than the original NES boxes, but if you have it sitting on your shelf next to the others, you probably won't really notice. As you would hope with something like this, inside the box there is a huge full-color manual, which was sort of unique for the days of the NES. Games like Final Fantasy and Dragon Warrior had big manuals like this, but for most games the manual came about half the size. This manual features an excellent explanation and overview of the game and its world, and in the days of the NES, you almost needed a companion like this to play through an RPG. You also get a full-color map of the region, and the icing on the cake is this glorious acrylic NES-style cartridge, a trophy piece, fully equipped with its own dust cover. While the original NES dust covers were all made of plastic, I feel like this one actually might be made of paper, even though it does look extremely authentic. I just haven't had the chance to try and taste test it yet to find out. I honestly can't think of the last time Nintendo has put this much effort into the collector's edition of a video game that they've released. This is almost on par or above the presentation of the NES and the Super NES Classic editions. A real treasure for Fire Emblem fans and NES collectors alike. It's just such a shame that they didn't go the extra mile and actually make this a fully functioning cartridge. We currently live in a time where there are companies out there like Limited Run Games publishing new NES titles, and plenty of other artists are creating their own fan games on functioning NES carts. Reproduction carts are also running rampant online too, so would it have really been that much more difficult for Nintendo to create a fully functioning cartridge version of Fire Emblem on NES?
They already went this far, so why not take it that extra step? Now, this special anniversary edition of the game did come with a digital code that we can take and then go redeem online to download the game, but the biggest problem with that is the game is only available on the eShop until March 31st of 2021. Then it's actually getting pulled from digital shelves, and without a physical version of the game, there's no way to truly preserve it. Now, of course, anyone who's purchased the game before that March 31st deadline will still be able to play it and will be able to re-download it if they ever have to delete it from their system or what have you. But everyone else will be missing out. And yeah, Shadow Dragon was remade on the DS over 10 years ago, and that version got a physical release, but this is not necessarily the same.
I was fortunate enough to have secured a pre-order of my own for this special edition of Fire Emblem, and at the moment it seems like most retailers that did carry this are all sold out. It did retail for $49.99 here in the US, and I don't believe it was available in Europe. Now, you can get the game digitally on the eShop for about $5.99 US, so if you just want to go ahead and play the game, it's already up there for you to download. But if you want to try and nab one of these collector's editions, keep an eye out at your local stores and maybe someone will get more stock back in soon. Be sure to let us know in the comments down below what you think of this special edition of Fire Emblem on Switch. And let us know in the comments as well if you think there's another classic game that really should get this sort of treatment. Maybe Captain Rainbow or Doshin the Giant. Some of those games haven't come to the West. And you know what else hasn't come to the West?
Mother 3.
And as always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more content like this, then why don't you go ahead and re-release that subscribe button in an acrylic, unplayable, trophy level fashion. And then ring that notification bell to be notified whenever we put up new videos. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Zion from Nintendo Life. Stay safe out there and we will see you next time.